Hello everyone, my name is the Mad Scorpion and welcome to another reset update in Destiny 2. Now, as you can tell, Saladin is still around, and I honestly forgot that they remade Iron Banner so that last 2 weeks, at least during the episode timeframes, and because of that, we do have maybe a new mode. I wasn't keeping track of what the mode was last week, but right now it is Tribute, which is basically that rework of that one mode from Titanfall 2, where you go out, you collect the crests, and then you bank them in one area. Now, at the same time, this is the last week of Iron Banner, and per the usual with Iron Banner, there will be no trials this weekend, so keep that in mind in case you are hoping to hunt for an Adept Trials weapon this weekend. But aside from that, we do allegedly also have another Valor increase with this Iron Banner, so that means that meantime that you're grinding out Iron Banner for week 2, you'll still get the incredibly boosted rank grind for, just standard Crucible reputation. The strike for this week is the newly remastered Inverted Spire that was just reintroduced last season after a rework, and it is the first time it is Grandmaster, if I'm not mistaken, freshly this season. And with that, it is kind of not that terrible. In comparison to the Lake of Shadows remastered GM, this one is way more manageable. I did it on like the second attempt. Yes, I did learn what was changed and what was new ahead of time, but even that being said, it wasn't that difficult. It was far more Vex than Cabal this time around. It had some interesting points, like the tank section on Grandmaster was certainly a weird one, considering tanks didn't do much to actually help in some weird way, but the main boss hasn't changed that much. It's still an open field. There's still a few ads, and I believe the only change, at least in terms of the final boss, is one wave of ads during the final boss, but otherwise still pretty meltable, and I don't know if I'd say farmable, but it is certainly up there in comparison. The weapon that is currently available is the Undercurrent Grenade Launcher, a special wave frame grenade launcher that at this time, yes, it is Adept, it does have access to some brand new mods, but I still don't know if it compares to Forbearance, unless it got a rework and it had something like conductive feedback or something else like that, even Volt Shot. I don't know how it would fare compared to the usual chain reaction roll of Forbearance nowadays. But again, I haven't gotten one, I can't say for certain. In terms of regular Crucible, there isn't any labs activities right now, but there does seem to be Mayhem active at the same time, and in comparison with Iron Banner, I did see something. Even though it is labeled as Tribute, when I looked at it myself, it is allegedly also Control. I just don't know if that is because it is unconfirmed or not, but my loadout suggestion says so. In terms of our 3v3, we have the usual competitive and the countdown variety, and then the usual Rumble to keep an eye out for. In terms of our weekly featured activities, the raids available are the Vow of the Disciple and Last Wish raids. Both of them are pretty much current. All of them have crafted weapons to hunt for if you need something to hunt for, as well as exotics that can drop from random RNG encounters. Last Wish is still a little bit weird because you still have to kill the boss 3 times and then run one subsequent activity in order to, get the thing that you need to open the chest. However, it is still, as usual, always infinitely farmable, so if you wish to do nothing but kill Riven as many times as it can to fill up your inventory with the keys, and then do a Queen's Walk and let your friends who need the exotic still open chests until they find it, that is certainly an option. And with the recently rebranded set of weapons, the Last Wish weapons are concurrent and still up to date, still quite powerful in comparison to what they were once upon a time. Same thing can be said with Vow Disciple. Even though they haven't had re-rolled rolls or anything like that, they are still quite powerful for everything. I know Cataclysmic is still a very good top tier sustained DPS linear fusion rifle. Of course, Forbearance, like I mentioned earlier, is still an added clear king, and I believe most of the primary weapons are pretty much one of the top tier ones that people recommend all the time. I know see a lot of people talking about the SMG. However, moving into the dungeon space, we have some odd ones because we have Shattered Throne and Duality. Now, Shattered Throne is, again, quite a useless dungeon to go for in terms of featured, unless you literally just need the pinnacle from it being a featured raid. However, it doesn't have any weapons that are worth really hunting. Yes, it did get a refresh not too long ago, but there are basic weapons you could just find in the Dreaming City. The armor, same, can find them in the Dreaming City, and pretty much everything else, the exotic is quest-based, so there's nothing to farm. There isn't a master mode, so there's no artifice armor, so I would definitely say not the week to farm out Shattered Throne. However, the Duality dungeon is of course available at the same time, which does have artifice armor and does have 2 weapons that can be found that can be crafted. However, the weapons that aren't reprised, that were brand new to this dungeon, you just have to find a roll, although there are 2 weapons to keep an eye out for sure, being the grenade launcher and the linear fusion rifle, as it is I believe, the first of the burst linear fusion frames. And in terms of the grenade launcher, a roll of autoloading chill clip with disorienting rounds is an excellent add to your shutdown. But with that, moving into the last one for our weekly featured, it is the exotic mission. It is Operation Seraph Shield, which recently, after the change to a variety of anti-barrier stuff, me not wanting to use a shotgun, and me also not wanting to use a scout rifle, I remembered that Revision 0 would exist and it's permanently anti-barrier, and forgot that they massively buffed its sniper mode, so pretty much even in Grandmaster activities, at least with Vorpal, one-tap barrier shields, and otherwise just be a very good source of damage. I remember possibly, in a perfect scenario, with Force times the charm and the headshots, killing a champion in 1 round of sniper shots, that being 6 shots total. But however, there is of course red borders to hunt from the either classic reprised Icalis weapons or the weapons from Season 19's Seraph selection. All good options there, including another linear fusion rifle that is 3-round burst, but aside from that, there is more to get into. Speaking from the other side of the tree, it's time to get into raids as a whole with our challenges as such. Starting with Salvation's Edge, it is the Very Geometry challenge, which I promise you one day I'll figure out which each of these challenges means. But moving into the rest of them, per the usual, Crota's End does not have challenge modes for some reason unless it is featured, so nothing there. The Root of Nightmares is the Illuminated Torment challenge, which is first encounter. You have to have the Illumination buff and kill Tormentors to keep it active. The King's Fall is Grass is Always Greener, which again, I keep forgetting this one, unfortunately. Vow Disciple, once again being featured, means all challenges are active at the same time. I just said that. Vault of Glass is the only Oracle for you, which is Oracle challenge. Basically, you cannot kill the same Oracle in that location more than once. The Deep's Done Crypt is the Core 4, which is 10x challenge. Basically, instead of doing 2 balls at a time and banking them 2 at a time, you have to bank all 4 of the nuclear cores all at the same time. And the Garden of Salvation is a Link to the Chain, which I forget what that one is. And again, Last Wish being the featured raid means that all challenges, all 5 challenge modes are active at the same time. And with our Master Mode focusing, there is only Salvation's Edge giving Discipline-focused armor, and Vow Disciple also giving Discipline-focused armor. And wrapping it all up with the Dares of Eternity Expert Mode, we do have Fallen, Hive, and Zydron for the 3 stages featured in Expert Dares of Eternity. Moving into our seasonal challenges, of course, per the usual, we have part 3 of Act 2. Basically, if you hammered out the story right away, this should already be done for you, so go ahead and claim that free XP. Then Returning Champion for completing runs of the Contest of Elders. Positive Warden's Judgment gives bonus progress. Basically, just play Challenge of Elders, or Contest of Elders as it's referred to now, and just, succeed. If you ignore the special scenarios, it's going to take a long time, which is a PSA. Don't ignore the side objectives. They are required if you want better loot. All the people just ignoring the poison vents, that's not how you get the good stuff. Then with the next, it's acquire this episode's ritual weapon, which is the Fair Judgment. If you visit the Drifter, Shax, or Zavala in the tower, you'll notice in their reputation bars, there is an auto rifle that can be claimed once you reach rank 16. That is this weapon it speaks of. Basically, just play any ritual activity until you earn the weapon, and you will finish this. Next is the most dangerous prey for defeating Guardians in Gambit or the Crucible. It only has to be 50 though, and with Mayhem active, this is a really easy washout in case you wanted to do such. And with another Crucible base, defeating Guardians in the Mayhem playlist with super abilities, so you can knock out 2 at once. Go ahead and just get that done. Then Rolling Energy for defeating targets with Arc, Stasis, or Void subclass equipped specifically in Gambit. Bonus progress for granted ability Final Blows and Final Blows against Guardians. So maybe throw super at Invading every now and again. And lastly, Calibration of close range weapons. Defeat enemies with sidearms, submachine guns, shotguns, glaives, and swords. And usually, bonus progress for defeating Guardians. Checking in with Tess for the cosmetics, it is time to see what she has for Bright Dust once again. Now, on the front page, we have 2 shaders right off the bat, first being Wayfarer's Guise, which is basically just a green shader all the way back from Season of the Lost, with some actually red glow that I'm kind of liking how it looks now that I'm looking at it again. Might have to remember that every now and again. And another one from Season 11, Butter Bark, which is, it doesn't look half bad on this armor, but it's still a bit of a weird one because it gives it a weird wood but also buttery look to it. It's one of those texture change shaders that you have to make work to make work. Next is an Eris Morn projection in case you wanted to revisit the days of Shadowkeep and just look like Eris Morn's soldier. And the Edenic Shell from Season of the Seraph, which I believe this was... I forget what this was a part of. Honestly, this, I forget which set this was supposed to be part of, but it's from Season 19's Eververse store. It's a real weird looking ghost shell in comparison. The next is from the same season, the Ascendance event, which might be the Sparrow or the jump ship that went with it. Honestly, it's been ages and I forgot what they could have been if it was something Greek or classic mythology. But, there it is. It looks real cool. Next, though, it is into our flares and transmats into the shader's Iridescent Coral, which is one of those ones that looks really cool, but it's quite bright and hard on the eyes. It's very reflective, very metallic, and I'm not gonna lie, with a prismatic look, I actually really like how it's turning out. I might have to remember this in case I want my hunch to look light as opposed to dark. The next is the polished sea stone, which is very true to its word. It looks very sea foam or sea bearing colors, some blues, some greens, but metallic carbon wiring kind of shape. It's a solid enough look, but again, this is one you have to try to make it work. Then welded brass, which is one for all ye void hunters out there, or void anythings, because this is a dark brownish tan. It's almost like a burned metal that also comes with a nice dark void purple glow. Keep that in mind, again, for void. And lastly, Regalia from Season Lost, which basically makes you look like a classic Awoken Corsair out in the field. For our transmats, we have the Warsat arrival from Season 10, which of course is spawning into Burning Warsat. From Season 19, an orange version of the classic Vex Incursion FX from, you know, the vanilla of Destiny. And a refresh of a random transmat from Vanilla D2 that was a blue rarity just made green. And into our next items we have for some of our main ticket stuff, Friendly Flowers, which is you in a multiplayer emote giving somebody else a pair of flowers and congratulating them on a well done performance. Whatever it may be, or maybe just not dying in the jumping puzzle. And then we also have the Disallowed banner, which is basically you just saying stop doing that. This is perfect for those super shutdowns in case somebody tries to have fun with their super in Crucible. You know, if you want to be an ass. Next is the... Hang on, let me try that again. Avuncular Vagrant Shell. I almost said it, but then my brain stopped. Which is a part of the Drifter set that was freshly added this season. If you want your Ghost Shell to rep Drifter or Jermaine himself, you know, go ahead and pick up that shell. Next is the Wings of the Firebird, all the way back from Season of the Haunted, which during the Solar 3.0 armor event, this was the ship that was meant to match Solar 3.0. So if you want to look like a flying scythe on fire, this is certainly a ship for you. And then next is the No Mind Sparrow from this season, which per the usual, sparrows just aren't loading, so I'll probably have already put up a picture to say what it looked like, just in case you wanted to see it right now. And lastly, a big ticket item, we have the Damascene Conductivity. I think I'm saying that practically, but it's kind of an ivory Damascus look for Cloud Strike, which is honestly just still a very solid look. Again, it's keeping with the tune of Lightning Rod Stick, but at the same time, I think there's a few others that I do still prefer over this. It's still a great looking ornament, and of course, Cloud Strike is, you know, not exactly in my inventory nowadays, but I still like it. And lastly, as always, at least we have the best bet projection, which is a ghost projection. It is only a little bit better because it is a Cade projection. But with that, that is the end of this reset update. And with that, my name is the Mad Scorpion. I will see you in the next video.